summer, the summer previous. Maybe the summer previous, we went ahead and used ELOP funds to run some summer programming. So this is fantastic. Love a mix. Great. Maybe we can see the results of the next poll. Okay, I have ran a summer program, but this is my first time serving early learners. Go ahead and answer that one there. See. Oh, look at this. Love it. Okay, we're getting some movement here. All right. So a lot of folks have served early learners before. Real curious to know what those other answers are. Maybe you're considering early learners to be kinder, first grade, second, third. Curious to know if anybody served, TK in their groups as during summertime as well. Great. Why don't we go on to the next one? Okay, I've served early learners in summer, but I am here to learn how to enhance the quality of my summer programming. All right. Well, at 100%, I guarantee you there's going to be something for everyone here today. So that is fantastic. So glad you joined us for some tips and tricks today. Okay, and a couple of others. Curious about those as well. Awesome. Okay, then. Thank you so much for participating in the poll, everyone. We'll go ahead and continue on with the presentation. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into really quickly what is ELOP, Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, right? It's intended to prioritize our unduplicated students. We know for ELOP that means English learners, low-income students, and foster youth. It's required to operate 30 non-school days. So for a lot of folks, that means summertime. And more funds obviously are allocated to folks with high concentrated duplicated students. The funding is extremely flexible, so it is an opportunity for everyone to think outside the box and get creative when it comes to the needs of their particular communities. Next slide, please. Definitely encourages collaboration with existing partnerships. It's intended to serve our youngest learners as part of the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Initiative, and also provides funding for technical assistance. So if you have new staff members or staff members that are just joining and maybe new to serving early learners, make sure you find unique technical assistance opportunities so staff is well prepared to serve in the summertime. Next slide, please. As you can see on the graph, this depicts all of the funding that has been allocated for ELOP previous years. We've had ACES grants and 21st Century grants. You can see the funding there is pretty minimal in comparison and contrast to ELOP funding, which is upwards of $4 billion, hoping to gain to $5 billion during the next and upcoming grant cycles. Next slide, please. I know everybody has most likely heard about the quality standards for expanded learning here in California as part of a bill that was passed several years ago. And the quality standards are a framework. They provide clear expectations for programming. They provide opportunities for you to assess your quality that's happening in your programmings, and they complement other California standards for quality improvement, which makes them such a game changer when you are implementing your programs. And I encourage you highly to take a look at those if you haven't already become familiar with the quality standards. Maybe check back at one of the other summer game plan series in the earlier series. I know that that framework was discussed extensively there as well, and you can find it online as well. As you can see in this picture, it's located on the California Department of Education website, as well as the CAN website. Next slide, please. Great. So when we're talking about high quality programming, we're talking about programs that offer students the opportunity for school readiness. They are closing the learning loss gap. Of course, it's summer, so we want it to be fun and disguised learning. We're building community, we're building relationships, and having a great time during summer, all while learning all of these essential skills. Next slide, please. Additionally, high quality program is a program that's going to broaden our youth's horizons. We want activities that foster cooperative learning, that help build mastery. We want promotion of healthy habits, whether that's social, emotional learning, physical fitness, also nutrition awareness, nutrition activities, and of course, it lasts at least 1 month, because that's how long, at least at minimum, it takes for a student to master a new skill. Next slide, please. So when it comes to high quality enrichment, you are going to create a vision for your program. You're going to gauge what kind of student outcomes you want your students to produce by the time your program is over. What are your program goals? You want to make sure that it's a mix of academic with enrichment programming in order to get the best, in other words, bang for your buck for your students during summer programming. You want to plan lessons that include sequenced activities. There's scaffolding, so skills are being built and mastered throughout the summer program. And if at all possible, you want to keep the class sizes small, especially when it comes to our earliest learners. We want to make sure we're adhering to that 1-to-10 ratio for our transitional kindergarten age students. Next slide, please. High quality summer programs. We all want to go ahead and offer those high quality summer programs. These are programs that offer a safe and supportive environment for everyone involved in summer programming, whether it comes to your staff or whether that's your students, your families, and your community. You want to make sure you're allowing for students to have voice and choice. We want them to feel welcomed. We want them to feel supported. And most of all, we want them to attend. So make sure it is programming that your students want to be involved in. You want to provide different types of literacy activities, for example, read alouds that are involved maybe with finger puppets. Maybe students are creating their own finger puppets and maybe reenacting the story themselves. You want outside experiences. This is summertime. It is a fantastic opportunity to facilitate activities outside, facilitate the majority of your program, if you can, outside, of course, with mindfulness to a safe and supportive environment, because in certain parts of California, we all know during the summertime, it can get quite scorching. So perhaps maybe you hold your outside activities outside during the daytime, in the morning, and then towards the latter part of the day, maybe populate those inside so everybody can get a break from the heat. You want to make sure you're playing with the different elements. You're playing with sand, you're playing with water. You're getting that kinesic activity for folks so they are able to use their senses. And again, with exploration with nutrition and healthy choices and behaviors, perhaps the students are able to try unique fruits and vegetables. And this is going beyond coloring sheets on a page, because that's very flat. We want to maybe bring those fruits in and allow the students to feel and touch and experience that in real time. What's the texture? What's the taste? What's the smell? So those are some of the elements for high quality summer programs. Next slide, please. All right, right, so now that we've kind of explored quality programming, quality enrichment, and what makes quality summer programming, let's participate in this wonderful word cloud activity where we are going to generate some fantastic words and ideas based off of the experience we want our students to have during their summertime in your program. So what's one thing that you want your students to experience this summer? And or what is one thing you want your students to feel while they are attending your summer program? So go ahead and follow the link in the chat again and or scan the QR code, and let's start populating some amazing words here that we want for our students to experience during the summer. If you could dream, dream big, go outside the box. We're using ELOP funding to bring wonderful activities and ideas and experiences to our students that perhaps maybe they haven't been able to experience before. Oh, I'm seeing some wonderful ideas. Fun, interest, exploring, curiosity, structured, clubs, community trips. Oh, this is wonderful. Wonder, oh, interest. Yes. Mentorship. Absolutely. Friends. Fantastic. Oh, messy. Yes. The messier, the better. That just leads to fun and laughter and enjoyment. Oh, this is fantastic, everyone. Give everybody about another 15 seconds to populate some words. Hopefully we'll go ahead and capture this and be able to send this out later. This is amazing. Oh, connections. Yes. Oh, this is amazing. Relationships. Oh, yes. What a great time to build relationships. Inclusion. Yes, please. With every and anything. Wonderful. All right, we'll be moving on. Thank you so much for participating in that activity. And yes, I think we'll be able to capture that and most likely send that out later. So as you're engaging in your planning and perhaps in the middle of your summer programming and need a wonderful reminder of what you're doing there and what you're hoping for your students to experience, you may be able to look back at that word cloud and get that inspiration again. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Eliana. Ellie.
Thank you, Monik. Hello, everybody. My name is Eliana Mancilla. I am the Director of Learning and Development over at Woodcraft Rangers, and I am so excited to talk to you about some of the structures and some of the systems that we have put in place here at Woodcraft Rangers that have really given us the opportunity to provide high quality, structured, and fun and engaging programs to our TK and K students. So I would love the opportunity to first, talk about our staffing and how we have really set up our programs for success by being very intentional and starting at the very beginning, right before we even get into enrolling students in our summer program. We start the planning of staffing. So staffing, this is actually the perfect time, right, to start thinking about summer and what summer programs are going to look like. We are actively looking at our summer programs and developing what the days are going to look like, what the themes are going to look like. It is actually the planning process for us started early this month. So I think this is a perfect time time, right? Like Monique mentioned. So when it comes to our staffing, right, we try to be as intentional and as proactive as possible. So we definitely do look at our partners and our infrastructure when it comes to identifying those individuals who would be amazing fits for providing TKK programming during the summer. So some of the partners that we have looked to are our local community colleges. Woodcraft Rangers serves programs or serves students and provides summer programming in and around the LA area. A lot of our team members that work in our summer programs attend our local community colleges like ELAC. So ELAC is definitely a partner that we like to communicate with, and we set up events to recruit. A lot of our local community campuses, right? Local community colleges and campuses hold, if not a monthly, bi-weekly recruitment event. So it's definitely something that we take advantage of, and we make our, provide a presence there so that we can recruit students that are actively looking to work in the field of education, whether that be through K through 12 education, or are looking to focus in on early childhood education, right? So community colleges are definitely an area that we go into, and we network and provide those connections. We also have invested time into providing a school to workforce pipeline. So Woodcraft Rangers is an expanded learning agency, right? We provide programming to students before and after school, and we actually service our programming actually serves students from TK all the way to 12th grade. So around this time, we do have programs where we're embedded in our local high schools, and we have conversations with students who are already actively enrolled in our programs or are volunteering in our programs during their school year. There are a lot of students that work with us to gain those like volunteer hours, to gain that like experience with working with children. So we have embedded an infrastructure where we provide this opportunity to our current high school students who are going to be entering the workforce soon. And we also are looking into providing an apprenticeship to provide on-the-job learning and experience. So definitely a lot of intention when it comes to our staffing. These are our youngest learners, and this is such a important time in their lives. They are our little sponges. So we want to make sure that whoever we are working with to provide these programs have the characteristics, the skill sets, right, to work with these students. So some of the things that we look at during our interview process that we want to hone in on and focus on with our fresh professionals, right? Like our students who are just graduating from high school or just enrolling in community colleges, is prior experience with working with youth. When we look at this experience, we do look at what formal like in-house or educational experience they may have, right? That experience may range from like volunteering at local early ed centers or volunteering during their like high school years, right, with working with young children. So it is something that we take into account. We also definitely look at who in our hiring pool has child development units, right? Because it's always a amazing thing to work with individuals who already have like a foundation and a knowledge in child development, so that they again can provide high quality programming for our youngest learners. When we look at our characteristics and skill sets, so one thing that we are very big on here at Woodcraft Rangers is relationship building, right? We often say that if you are going to be in the field of education, whether that be during the school day or that be after school and expanded learning, you're in the field of making and sustaining these relationships, right? So something that we definitely look for in candidates are these 21st century skills. So 21st century skills are a combination of both hard skills and soft skills. Soft skills focusing in on the empathy, right? The creativity, the communication, right? And while hard skills focus more on like logistical, very like procedural type skills. Both very important to be super successful and provide high quality programming, and both necessary, and something that we look at as a whole to our potential candidates. And we also, one of the things that we embed, right, in our interviewing process is, we ask questions in and around growth mindset, because as we know in the field of education, nothing stays the same for a long period of time, right? There's always new research, there are new methods, new methodologies, and how we work with students and the curriculum that we create so that we are providing impactful and long-lasting, enriching experiences. So we ask questions that focus in on growth mindset. So starting with staffing. Next slide, please. So we're intentional with our staffing, and we are just as intentional with our staff training. We find here at Woodcraft and in the field of expanded learning, a lot of the individuals that we hire on are what we like to call fresh professionals. So these are individuals, right, that are straight out of high school. I can speak from experience. One of my first jobs that I took on was a club leader here at Woodcraft Rangers, while also working at a local school as a teaching assistant at, I live in Southgate. So at Southgate, there's a school in Southgate called San Miguel, and that's where I worked in. So coming from an experience, personal experience, right? So with staff training, because a lot of our fresh professionals do not have that experience in working with students right off the bat, or may not have the early ed units, we embed a lot of the child development practices and developmental domains and developmentally appropriate practices in our staff training. So we do like to set up our fresh professionals for success when it comes to hiring for providing high quality programming. So our trainings are definitely experiential. They are learner focused. They are immersive, and they are hands-on. We like to make sure that we keep the fun in learning, right? I think that when we are young children, we get the opportunity to explore, to play, and somewhere down the line, we kind of lose sight of that. We start attending classes that are very lecture based, right? And may not necessarily be learner focused. So we want to flip that around and make sure that we do provide very hands-on experiential trainings that are also very reflective. We find that when we create trainings that are reflective, it gives us an opportunity to create a space for our candidates where we can create buy-in, right? We ask candidates what their experience has been, as children in summer. What are some of their fondest summer memories? What are some of the fun things that you have done in summer? And then we reflect on that and we talk about how we want to build that into our summer programming. And we also, in our staff training, make sure to provide our fresh professionals with the tools they need to be successful, right? So we talk about tools that are preventative, right? Especially with this age group, we want to give them the information and the tools so that they set up these environments that emphasize structure. We all know that young children need structure and need routine, right? I think us as adults also thrive on structure and routine, and we need that in order to feel calm, to know what to expect, or at least I do. I don't know if anybody else here does, but I definitely do. So we talk about structure and how impactful that is and how that helps us set up an environment where children can thrive. We talk about positive climate. What does positive climate look like? What does positive climate look like in order to build these long-lasting relationships with students, right? And to build impactful relationships where students feel comfortable coming to their club leaders or their program leaders to ask for help, to find comfort, right? So definitely very intentional with how we train our team members. And it's definitely embedded in the structure of what we have here at Woodcraft Rangers. We have a very specific model that we operate with, and that is going to be on our next slide, where we talk about new hire orientation, right? So when our program leaders get hired on, we have them go through a 2-day new hire orientation. In this new hire orientation, we definitely talk about Woodcraft Rangers as a whole. So speaking on behalf of your agency and why why is it so important to provide these programs for young students at this age, right? We talk about our model, right? Giving children youth voice, youth choice, right? So our first day is definitely focused on program design, what they can expect working working with our agency. And we go over what whole child approach is, because as we mentioned before, a lot of our fresh professionals, this is the first time they work with young children, or this may be the first time that they talk about child development, right? And what child development is. So we talk about what whole child approach is, how it's embedded in our agency. We talk about child development. What are child development domains? What is developmentally appropriate for young children, right? What are some practices that we want to make sure that we embed in our programs? We also talk about behavior. Behavior is something that is reoccurring, right? Like throughout the school year. And we want to make sure that when fresh professionals come in to work with us, there is a conversation on behavior and how behavior is not a power struggle, right? That's the mind flipping that we want to do. Behavior is not a power struggle. Behavior is not a child, a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old rebelling and wanting to take over the program as a whole, right? Behavior is a form of communication, and the way that we behave communicates something. So we want to have that conversation with our fresh professionals very early on. First and second day is what that's how early on we want to have these conversations with them. And we also talk about activity planning and support. So again, our new hire orientation, right? This is something that we have laid out over the span of 2 days to really give our new hires a sense of what our agency is, why our expanded learning programs are so impactful, and how we want to make sure to follow through throughout the summer. Okay, next slide, please. So this is an example of what our summer programming looks like. We have different models, right? Our programming and schedules are definitely based off of the needs of our families, right? Just because we go on summer break doesn't necessarily mean that our parents go on summer break. And we have various models that accommodate or meet the needs of our families. I shared here our 10-hour model because, believe it or not, we do have a 10-hour model because, again, we're meeting the needs of our families. And we have set this up in order to meet the developmental needs of our students. So again, our models really set up meeting the needs of our families. Our program design is set up so that we meet the needs of our students. And we have an emphasis on student-led activities versus educator-led activities. So a lot of this is project-based learning that we really embed into our summer training. Next slide. So again, with learning environments, right? We talk about this in our new hire orientation, day 1 and day 2. We talk about setting the tone for fun, active and engaged learning. We talk about our facilities, right? We may have to be a little bit more individualized. Not all of our facilities look the same. Like Monik mentioned, sometimes we're outside, sometimes we're indoor, but we need to make sure that we always prioritize safety. We definitely have a small group that we work with, especially when we work with TK students. We have a 10-to-1 ratio. And again, focusing on individualization. So in our training that we provide our new hires, we talk about problem solving and what that looks like out in the field, right? When it's really, really, really hot at 9 a.m., maybe we don't want to have a full day outside. Maybe we want to incorporate some like fun water games throughout the day, and making sure that we stay developmentally appropriate at all times. Next slide. And this is just what our curriculum looks like, right? We definitely make sure to set up our curriculum that our fresh professionals are going to be taking on, that is, one, developmentally appropriate. It's easy to read and it's easy to follow. The workforce has changed dramatically after the pandemic, and we as an agency want to make sure that we're always meeting the needs of like our families, our children, but also our fresh professionals out in the field. So our curriculum definitely focuses and emphasizes developmentally appropriate practices. They are based in the California Preschool Foundations, and they also cover planning and supporting of activity implementation. So what the activity looks like, what the main points are, and how can we reflect at the very end to make sure that we're targeting these SEL skills that children are developing at this time. Next slide. And again, to accompany our activities, we also set up an environment where we have these youth-led opportunities. So a lot of what our summer looks like is, working in a maker station or tinkering with loose parts, right? Because again, we really want to give children the opportunity to participate in activities that are youth-led and adult-guided. Like Monik mentioned, we want to be able to focus in on building skill and scaffolding, right? That is a lot of what project-based learning focuses on, and that is a lot of what we focus on with our junior rangers and what we really want to train our team members to take on. So in our day 1 and day 2, we review our activity guides and our supporting centers, because again, our curriculum needs to be youth-led, adult-guided. It is preventative, right, of unstructured time, right, of behavior meltdowns, right? We really want to be intentional and preventative when it comes to how we set up our environments and how we set up our activities. I think that's it.
Right. Well, next we welcome Rachel. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Rachel Champagne. I work with Catalyst Kids. We are a statewide nonprofit organization, and we've been doing summer programming for 50 years. Most recently, partnering with LEAs to provide their ACES and their ELOP program. So currently, we work with about 16 school districts, providing their after-school and summer programming. And we're serving about close to 5,000 children throughout the state of California. And I was asked to just kind of touch on how do we address the facility issue when working with such a wide range of ages. So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit. During the school year and during summer, we have like 3 options that we look at. One option is serving children in the kindergarten classroom. So during the school year, what we do is kindergarten closes and we come in with our materials and we serve our TK and our kinders out of the kindergarten classroom. During the summer, we have access to the kindergarten classroom for the 9 hours for all day. This is nice because the environment is somewhat familiar. It's also, in the summertime, a great kinder transition activity for your TKers. They get to know what a kindergarten classroom looks like. They get to learn the rules of that particular playground. It's a nice school readiness activity. And if you're in a kindergarten room for your TK and your kinders, you're able to access developmentally appropriate space and materials. It's usually near a bathroom that's appropriate and a playground that's appropriate, excuse me. To be honest, in the school year, it can be a challenge with shared space. In the summer, not so much. And the way we work with the LEAs is we create a budget. And we bill the budget, we bill the LEAs according to our budget of how much it costs to run that sort of model. Next slide. There's another option. The school district provides us with a space on campus. So maybe it's an empty room that is used for speech. Maybe it's a portion of the cafeteria, just some sort of space on campus. And then we augment it with our own supplies. We come in with like a cart with developmentally appropriate practice materials, and we set up that space for the age group we're serving. One thing that I caution districts and other CBOs is that when you're looking at that space, really look at storage, look at appropriate size furniture, look at where the bathrooms and the playground are for the age group you're serving. And then that business model is also one budget for the whole program as a whole. Next slide. This is a model that really maximizes the facility space. So our agency has access to general child care funding. That is a funding with the Department of Ed. It is year-round. It serves 5-year-olds up to 13. It is for low-income families, and it's year-round. We're open when schools are closed. And so sometimes you can find a CBO or an agency that's running a current after-school program on your campus, and you simply weave in ELOP children into that currently existing program. And that way you're not opening up another space, you're utilizing a space that's already open. When you do that sort of model and you commingle ELOP children with a funded source such as CCTR, you always go by the most strict health and safety guidelines. So it's different than running an ELOP on its own. When you blend those two funding sources, you always have to abide by the most strict. Now, there are some programs in school districts that already run their own after-school programs, such as ACES or 21st Century. Maybe you've got a Boys and Girls Club on campus. You can also just weave your ELOP children within that program. I kind of like that because it doesn't separate the ELOP children from other children that are on campus. It does take some maneuvering and some conversations, but it can be done. And the business model for that is you invoice the school district for the child, not for the program, because the program's already in existence. So you're billing per child. And what I usually say when it comes to facility conversations is everybody just needs to be open. And it really comes from the leadership on down. I find that our most successful partnerships with LEAs is where we have the backing of the leadership, where they have the mindset that it's everybody's children. It's not their children. It's not the Boys and Girls Club children. It's not the LEA's children. It's the community's children. And together, I think we can bridge that partnership to make sure that there is something for every child on that campus in terms of active learning experiences for the summer and year round. And I like this quote, alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much. And I think I'm going to pass it off to Eileen.
Good afternoon. I am Eileen Chen. I am the proud superintendent of Robla School District in North Sacramento. And I noticed that there are some SCOE people on the call, so I want to give out a shout out to them. I am in my 23rd year as in education, first year as a superintendent. I spent 22 years in Pittsburgh Unified in the East Bay. I say 22 years as an employee, but add 13 years as a student. And I'm here to share the LEA's perspective of a strategy and leveraging ELOP funds to provide summer opportunities. So what I will share is what Robla's history, what they have offered, and then my plan to bring what I learned from Pittsburgh Unified into our Robla School District. Next slide. Thank you. So just to share a little bit about my district, because our demographics is really, really important when we talk about ELOP ELOP funding. As Monique shared earlier, who are eligible. If you look at my demographics, we are a pre-K through 6 district, and ELOP funding is specifically TK through 6, right? And our preschool program is CSPP funded. So I will say majority of our money will support most of our students. I have 5 elementary schools. I have a TK program, at 3 of our elementaries, sorry, not 4, 3 of our elementaries. And I have a DLI program at one of my elementary schools. In our preschool center, we offer both part day and full day, and we have a partnership with First 5 to offer Play Pals. So the program that I'll talk about will be focusing on TK through 6, but I want to say that we do have a summer program for our preschool full day program. We have 38% English learners, 83% free and reduced, but our biggest thing is our unduplicated per pupil percentage at 90%. So we are one of the districts that really benefit from ELOP funding, probably at the highest allocation, right? And then you'll look at my student demographics. Next slide, please. So what has Robla offered in the past, right? Robla School District itself really hasn't had an established summer program, right? These are the 2 community partners that we work with for the summer, as well as during the school year, who offer ELOP funding, ELOP programs after school. So we've had a long-standing partnership with Roberts Family Development Center, who facilitate the Freedom School. That has been in our district for many years. It is a complete 9-hour program. I first should say that they started out with 8, but I needed them to be 9 to qualify for ELOP funding, and they're absolutely fine with that. Their students are K through 6, so they do not accept any TK. And we understand that when you are servicing TK, there's a smaller student ratio, student to staff ratio. So they're focusing on TK through 6. Within the 9-hour program, just a little bit, they start off with Harambe, and that's a session that they do every morning. And it's a coming together ceremony where they bring all the students into the multi-purpose room. They do some singing, they do some dancing, and then they usually have a guest speaker, and then the speaker will read to the whole group to start the day. Their program has servant leader interns, and these are usually high school, but majority of college students or recently graduate or those that want to come into education. They are definitely part of the summer program. And then during the school year, we have a few that work about half day within the school day, and they push into the classrooms that they have Freedom School students who will participate in the after school, right? So there's an opportunity to build relationships, to get to know the students, and to support them in the after school as well as in the summer. My school district is really small. I will say the farthest school to me is 2.8 miles, right? So we are fortunate to provide transportation to all our families, right? So whatever program that they want to go to, if it's not housed at their home school, we will provide transportation. We also provide meals for all our programs. And then Freedom School is specifically at one elementary school. And then our other partnership is with the City of Sacramento Youth, Parks, and Community Enrichment. It is a 9-hour program. It's START. They offer TK through 6, right? So they are aware when they have TK students that their student to staff ratio has to be within the guidelines of 10-to-1. And then START for the school year focuses, they have our ACES grant. So they definitely use ACES grant. And then we supplement ELOP funds to ensure that we can increase the number of students who will participate. So last year, START was at 2 of our elementary schools. So we had summer programs at 3 total. Again, meal and transportation is provided. Next slide. So what do I want to do this year? I want to introduce a Robla summer program with Robla staff. And again, this is what I'm bringing from my previous district. It's a 4-hour academic program, and it's run by our Robla staff. And I say staff because that's teachers and additional staff. It could be our instructional aides. It could be our specialists, right? I open it to all, whoever wants to support our students and families. I will take it. It is only 3 weeks. Why is it only 3 weeks? Because our school ends super late. Our last day of school is June 14th, right? And that's different than my previous district. So I want to recognize that this is a new program for our teachers, but I recognize that they probably have summer plans and they need that break. So it is a 3-hour program, 3-week program. It's 4 hours of, I'm going to say, academics. Academics has a flexibility with ELA, math, science, enrichment, and physical activity. A sample day will start off what we call a morning meeting, just to get our students ready and get them welcome. And then we offer breakfast, right? And then there's a block of time, about an hour and a half to 2 hours, focusing on phonics, phonemic awareness, or English language arts for the upper grades. And then an hour mixed with science, math, enrichment. What enrichment opportunities we have here? We have art, music, PE, technology. And then it's important to embed physical activity during their day. I think our students would get crazy just staying in the classroom. And the program is not meant to be stressful, but it's meant to be intentional. Again, it's TK through 5. If I have DLI teachers interested, absolutely will support those students and have a separate program for our DLI students. Meal and transportation, again, is provided. And then my program will be offered at 2 elementary schools, right? What I will say, what I'm hoping to get in the next couple of years, and as we look at our schedule, my previous district offered something different. We offered 2 to 3 weeks right after school. And then we offered 2 weeks prior to the beginning of school, and we call that the early back, right? So that's something that slowly I'll start introducing to my new district, and hoping to see that they see the value of providing summer opportunities for our students, both right after school and then getting them ready for the following year. And then, so what happens after our 4-hour program? Then our partnerships with our community partners kicks in, right? So we have a partnership, we continued our partnership with START, and then we have another partnership with Helen Institute, and again with the Roberts Family for Freedom. So they take over after our 4-hour program. They'll take over for the other 5 hours to ensure that we have that 9-hour requirement. And with START, again, they have that ACES structure with, I always think of the generic, academic support, enrichment, and physical activities within that 5-hour day. You'll notice that I said our summer program ends at 5th grade, because one of my partners will offer a 9-hour program specifically to our 6th graders, right? This grade span is different for me. In my former district, elementary stopped at 5th grade, and then junior high was 6th, 7th, and 8th. In my current district, we go through 6th, and then they go to junior high for 2 years, and then high school. So my philosophy, it really is important to get those 6th graders ready and prepared, just for that transition to middle school. One thing of having one teacher all year in 6th grade, and now what does that look like transitioning to middle school, where you're going to have 6 different teachers, 6 different personalities. Getting to the mindset of elementary, we have recess. Middle school, they don't have recess. They might have a PE period, or they might have a brunch and lunch, but they don't have recess, right? And then Freedom School will run their 9-hour program. So I will have the Robla the Robla academic program at 2 of our elementaries, and then our ELOP partners will take over. And then Freedom School will be at 1 school, and theirs will be a complete 9-hour program. But again, all our families from all the 5 schools can participate in any program, and we would provide transportation. Okay, next. So I only put a couple slides here because I have to be transparent, and it's important when you're thinking of different programs that are separate, right? That you have a great relationship with your labor partners, right? So I'm only putting information there that that's out there, right? And so what are we offering staff? And I say staff because it's not just teachers, right? I'm opening up to our classified staff because I like the smaller class ratio, right? I've promised the teachers that my goal is to have a 15:1 class size. But if I can make it smaller, I will absolutely make it smaller. If we have instructional aides that want to help support, absolutely. They would just be partnered with one of the teachers, and that again reduces the class size and provides more small group opportunity for our students. While the program itself is a 5-hour academic, it's a 4-hour academic day, we pay them for 5 hours, right? So I have them come at least 30 minutes before to make sure that the students are welcomed, right? And they're ready, and then 30 minutes afterwards. So helping the transition, whether they're going to an after-school program and continuing their day, or we want to make sure, hey, my families only want the academic and they want to go home, and then we'll make sure that they have, they get to their families or the bus or where they need to go. Let me see. We offer planning time, right? Weekly planning time, as well as planning times before the program, right? It really is important, even though the academic piece that we will bring in, they'll receive training for it. We recognize that it's important for planning time. And one of the things I'm not on here because I still need to negotiate with our labor partners is a stipend. I will offer a stipend to the teachers because they've never had a program. They've never had a summer program, and I don't have a lot of interest right now. I have like a handful, but I want another handful just to offer to as many students as I want. And, my whole goal is, what do our families need, right? And what can I do to provide it? So I know, wow, I had like 20 minutes and I know I talk super fast. But again, this is something that I'm going to try this year. I will have a small program. I know I'll have a small program, and I'm hoping that the interest and the excitement and the less stress of not really stressful, but being intentional will, I don't know, attracts more teachers and more staff, just so we can build a program to serve all the families that are eligible. And again, if you notice, I'm a small district, little over 2,000, and 90% UPP. So I know when I look at the needs of our family, it's out there. And one of the things that's important is to advertise, right? We want to advertise early. So that's it. I talked for like 10 minutes, so I apologize. But I'd be happy to answer. I know we're going to be in breakout sessions. Be happy to answer any questions and more in detail. Thank you.
Gosh, thank you so much, Eileen. So much amazing and valuable information. I love how intentional you're being with your summer programming. I love how you're getting staff on board. I love how you're bridging partnerships. Boy, sounds like some robust summer programming going on over there in Robla, and I might just have to dip by and come on down and take some notes. Sounds amazing. Thank you so much to Rachel. Thank you, Ellie and Eileen. And now we're going to have the opportunity for folks to engage and dive in deeper. So you'll have the opportunity to select from a breakout room. If you're interested in learning more about training and staffing, you can go into Ellie's room. If you're curious and learning more about facilities and maybe even some of those blending of programming that Rachel was referring to, you'll go ahead and go into the facilities room. And then if you want to engage more with Eileen about some of those partnerships and how she's getting her staff on board and the different types of programming she's offering to be very intentional and keeping everybody in mind, go ahead and join the LEA and partnerships room and ask away all those questions that you have. And we'll have the opportunity to be in those breakout rooms for probably about 15 or so minutes. So when the breakout room opportunity pops up for you here. We're getting ready to create those. Go ahead and select.
You should be receiving a notification to join the breakout room, folks, so feel free to choose one of those three options. Hey, Jane. Hey, Astrid. Nice to see y'all.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
We were like, we're not gonna miss.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. Hopefully you didn't stop like mid-sentence and be pulled into the main session. It's frustrating when that happens, huh?
Yes, Eileen was going, was just going off and listing all of those great ways to communicate with families. And, but I think you were able to get the majority of them out there. And I hope that answered questions for you, Shamia. Oh man, what a great session.
Yeah. I hope
Wondering
y'all
if
enjoyed the
maybe,
conversations.
yeah, fantastic. We have time, maybe you can take a couple minutes. Ellie, if you want to maybe share some high key highlights from takeaways from your breakout room, and maybe Eileen could do the same after Ellie. That'd be great.
Sure. You know what? I will take the opportunity to answer the question that I was answering mid-sentence. So the question that came up was, do we give our team members the opportunity to modify curriculum during summer? And so the answer for that is no. During the summer, because we plan out our summer sessions with themes, and we really put a lot of work and planning into making sure that these activities are both fun, engaging, and meet these developmentally appropriate kind of markers. We stick to a set summer programming curriculum. And with junior rangers in particular, because we have such a long day, right? Like our program or our curriculum is set up in we are providing 2 enrichment activities, and often what we do, the first enrichment activity will like open up, like let's say we're building a house. So we'll open up with building one house, and maybe by the end of the day, we have like a whole neighborhood. So we really follow this like project-based learning. So it's very intentionally built out. But one thing that we have seen like throughout the years of offering summer is that when we hire external team members to work summer programming, we see them stay throughout the year. So once they come on to Woodcraft, they stay through their academic school or through the academic school year. And then we have more flexibility with like, hey, I really like gardening and we haven't done this activity. There is an ability to come in and modify your activity and lesson and create something new. Mm-hmm.
And God, I don't know what I talked about. I answered a question on, how do you come into a district, right? How do you partner with the district? And one of the things that's really important is the LCAP process. It's LCAP time. Our districts are writing the LCAP, right? Or rewriting the next 3 years. So if you're interested in being a partner, you really want to reach out to districts now and share that scope of work, because it will be presented during, LCAP season. And then I just wanted to share, because I didn't share it as a whole, the fortunate part about, having your own program is afterwards, you're going to go to a partner like Eliana, right? But in our program, we have that flexibility of looking at the curriculum. I did share in the small group that we have support for our English learners and our newcomer population. And for those students who have an IEP that are not eligible for ESY, right? They are welcome and invited to our program. And so it's important to know that we bring in those specialists, our inclusion teachers or instructional aides and teachers, and depending upon who is enrolled, whether they have their own class or they're included in a regular class. You know, we're really working on our inclusive practices and that co-teaching or supporting a student in a general ed setting. So.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I have to say, I wholeheartedly really appreciate all of the sharing and all of the knowledge from everyone today. And I definitely want to echo the fact that summer programming should be welcoming and fun for all. It should be full, inclusive programming that everyone has access to, everyone has knowledge about, and everybody feels welcome and included in. So thank you all so much for that. With that, go ahead and turn it over to Destiny.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being here, y'all. Thank you for being in the breakout rooms. Sounds like y'all had an opportunity to ask some really important questions. This is session 3, and we have a little more coming up in April. So I want to highlight that on April 25th, we'll have Thriving Together. This is going to go a little deeper into that staffing conversation, recruitment, retention, training. So please be sure to join. When you get the Zoom reminder via email, be sure to resave the calendar invite so that you have the most up-to-date on April 25th. I'd like to thank our speakers, Monik, Eliana, Rachel, Eileen. Thank you so much for sharing these beautiful gems with us. For folks that have attended through 222, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And Stephanie, I really appreciate your support with logistics today. We would love to hear from you all. So if you could share feedback with us, it helps us make important decisions around future offerings and to prioritize different content to most meet your needs and your wants. So you can access the survey through a link I'll pop in the chat in a few minutes, or it'll pop up in a new window when you leave the meeting. It just takes about 2 minutes. You share a little bit about yourself and your experience with the session. You will be receiving a follow-up email from me with the slide deck and the recording. So don't worry about saving everything. You'll have access to that a little later. And I'd also like to highlight some additional resources and events. So I'm going to send some links in the chat, and I'm going to highlight them. So we have the CAN Spring ELOP Academy that's coming up in April. It's a 4-day virtual convening of workshops where you can continue learning about expanded learning. We'll also highlight the LA Enrichment Hub. So Eliana, I think you mentioned you were in LA. A few more folks might be in LA. This will be a really helpful resource. It's a searchable database profiling youth programming and services throughout LA County. I checked it out. It's really awesome. So follow the link. You can see what's in that database. You can also take a few minutes to watch the short film Unlocking the Potential of Summer Learning or share it with somebody else. This describes the evolution from summer school to summer learning, really touches on some of the work that we're all doing. And lastly, I'll highlight a report from the Council of Chief State School Officers and the National Summer Learning Association. This report is also in the chat, linked. It highlights key insights from the State Summer Learning Network, focused on improving student achievement during the summer. I'll stick around if you have any questions. My email is destiny@partnerforchildren.org. Feel free to email me. You may have all received a follow-up email from me already, so you can also respond to that if you have any questions. And thank you for attending.